Good morning. It's Tuesday morning, and that means it's time for some more blessings from the bridge. We've been working our way through Matthew chapter 6, or we begin Matthew chapter 6 this morning, part of the Sermon on the Mount, and we've seen how Jesus has been taking points of the law and showing how he has come not to abolish it, but to fulfill it, to restore its true meaning. Because the Jews for centuries had taken the law and had practiced it according to their teachers and the Pharisees in Jesus' day, and had practiced it wrong because they didn't understand it. Well, he's going through different points of the law, and he comes to giving. Now, in the Old Testament, there were three kinds of giving, basically. There were tithes, which was a percentage, 10% of your wealth given to the Lord. There were offerings, which were above and beyond the tithe. And there were alms, which were intended for the poor, gifts for the poor. And so Jesus takes alms as one example of giving. And here's what he says in Matthew chapter 6, verses 1 to 4. Beware of practicing your righteousness before men so that you may be seen by them. For then you'll have no reward from your Father who is in heaven. And so when you give to the needy, for example, do not sound a trumpet before you the way the hypocrites do in the streets and in the synagogues so that they may be praised by men. For I tell you, they've received their reward. But when you give to the needy, do not let your right hand know what your left hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Shh. So there's the point of the law, that God gets the glory, not men, not you the giver, because God is the giver. And so that's the point of that. I have a story, which is my wife's story. Suzanne was one of 7 children that her mom raised mainly on her own. Her father was not in the picture in the early years. And so her mom, you know her as Carol, raised them by herself and raised them in the Lord. And when the time came for schooling down in Massachusetts, they wanted to go to a private school. There was no way they could afford a private school. And so someone paid for the private Christian education of 7 kids. Quite a commitment, quite a sacrifice for someone. I say someone because to this day, Mom thinks she knows who did it, but she isn't sure. And so what happens when you think, and that's the way it is, isn't it? When you receive an anonymous gift, it drives you crazy wondering who gave it, because you want to say thank you. But when you don't know, there's only one thing left to do, and that is to thank God, because he is the giver, he is the provider, and that is the point of the law. Jesus says in that scripture, he says, sound no trumpet before you, like the hypocrites do in the streets and the synagogue, that they may be seen by men. But when you give, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. And so to get his point across, Jesus, as he often did, uses exaggeration. First, with the hypocrites, he talks about sounding a trumpet before them, so that everyone could hear and they were attracted and could see what they were doing. And that's, in effect, what the Pharisees would do with their giving. They would parade themselves in front of everybody. So he exaggerates to make the point. And then when he comes to us, he uses exaggeration again. He says, when you give to the needy, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. In other words, do it so that you don't even know, much less anybody else around you, so that you don't even know that you're giving. Do it out of love. Do it for the glory of God, so that he gets the glory, and not you, and not anyone else. So keep that in mind as you, many of you are good givers, and I know it's near to your heart to give. And but as you give, make sure that God gets the glory. Don't be like the hypocrites. Don't be like the Pharisees. And have a wonderful Tuesday. God bless.